I'm Dara. Thanks for coming by to see me. Today I want to show you these quilts that I made before I started filming my projects that I've been making around my home. So keep watching and I'll show you what I've made so far. Here's my crazy quilt. I made it about 5 years ago with a kit of fabric pieces that I ordered from a YouTuber. Her channel is called Crazy Rebecca Dances with Pit Bulls, and she shows how to make these wall hangings on her channel. I supplemented what she sent me with some of my own thrifted fabric that I went hunting for when I was assembling the pieces to make it. So I'll just come in for a close-up. So each of these blocks are hand-pieced and then embellished with embroidery and some beading. And I have it here as a wall hanging. I have a very long wall in my house that feels pretty empty sometimes, so I made this. I didn't know anything about quilting and stuff at the time, so you know, it does curl a bit as it hangs. So that's my crazy quilt. This is the very first quilt I made. It's made from discarded t-shirts that were too worn and stained to be continued to be used as clothing. We had a big pile of them, so I decided to try cutting them up and making them into a quilt top. I tried to be random about it, but you can see there's areas where I had, you know, dark colors repeated and it wasn't as much of a checkerboard as I was going for. The squares are 5 inches. This is roughly queen size, just shy of a queen size. And it is, instead of batting, I used pillow stuffing in each square before I quilted each square block. Here's a closer look, and even like the backing, the flannel sheet backing doesn't even go with the theme of the quilt, but it's what I had on hand. And I used my scrap sock yarn, so there's no consistent color. I have to say that this is an extremely cozy quilt, and it's in regular use by my youngest on the bed. And it's extremely snuggly. The flannel and t-shirt combination and the little bit of loft is really nice. This is the second quilt I made using my husband's worn out shirts. I've got it on my bed because I don't really have a wall to showcase it on. I use the rail fence block, and then it's bordered with, on the top and bottom, these scrappy strips. And then on the sides, it's bordered with, where does it start? Here we go, little 4 patches, just because I wanted to use my scraps. And as I was learning, my blocks got much smaller than I thought they were gonna be, and I felt that it was too small for even a throw. I backed it with a flannel sheet that we had, and it is bound with also a piece of a sheet. The thing about this quilt is I used I'm not even sure if it might have been upholstery thread. I had this spool of white thread that I inherited from my grandmother 30 years ago when I inherited what was left of her sewing stash and her sewing machine table. And I've been keeping, you know, that stuff and keeping the that thread. So I finally used it on this project, and so now that means this quilt can never be given away to anybody except someone in my family. So I hand traced these wavy quilting lines on there, and then it's hand quilted. The batting is the former innards of a comforter that my daughter had at university. I just reused it, so that's why it's it's thick batting. And also I had some scraps of floral prints that I had purchased at a church rummage sale. So those are kind of interspersed with the shirt fabric. I just wanted to show these corners, these two binding corners. I was trying to learn how to do a mitered corner, and despite watching several very good and informative tutorials on YouTube, I couldn't get the hang of it. So I just kind of smushed them in, and they are holding together just fine. I just wanted to highlight these boo-boos because, you know, the quilt is still lovely even though it's not perfect. Okay, now I'm on quilt number 3. This fabric I bought at a church bazaar, and you can see that I messed up my pattern that I was intending. But the checkerboard turned out, and then I was going for stripes on either side of the center feature. It is, the batting is reused from a comforter that my friend donated for me, but it's bound with the same fabric as the backing, which I'll show you in a second. And it's hand quilted. Okay, so there's a close-up of the center where I messed up with the placement. That's chain piecing. And the quilting there. I drew the quilting on again with Crayola washable marker, and I used a little circle template for those. And then I used circle templates for the brown squares and like a floral template for the yellow blocks. And then I did the seam quilting as well. I used pearl cotton that I had thrifted because I was really interested in the look of it. But what I have found, I don't know if you can hear my hand, is that it is not soft. It is noticeably, and this quilt has been washed 2 or 3 times, so it is noticeably got a rougher feel to it. So even though I think it's really pretty, I'm not going to be using that technique again. This is flannel backing. It is fabric that I thrifted years ago because it was such a good bargain. I couldn't leave it there at the thrift store. It's just baby lullaby in sheet music, and it is extremely soft as baby flannel. And then there's the binding. I had enough. And it was the exact amount that I needed for this quilt, so I feel like it was serendipity. And this quilt is still nice to sleep under. It's on our spare bed, which is a double bed, and we've both used it, and we really like it. So I'm not going to call it an unsuccessful project. It was definitely a good learning experience. And I do like even though it doesn't match a single room in our house, and it looks particularly bad in my daughter's purple room where we keep it, I do like the brown and yellow together. I think it's pretty. So now you've had a chance to see these quilts up close and see the decisions I've made and how nothing really has turned out perfect yet. I'm still very happy with them, and I hope it inspires you to try something that you haven't tried making before and accept that it's a learning process and it doesn't have to be perfect to be beautiful. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you again next time. Good luck. Thank you. How's this? How's this? Shut the door, yeah. How's this? No. How's this? You up close. Okay.